Hello and welcome to this episode of Incendiary. Like Jake keeps saying, it's episode 10. Welcome, everyone. Glad you're here. Let's have a look real quick to see who we have in the chat. Hey, Mo Biggs is with us already. Glad to have you, Mo. He says, poor Zack. When I heard there was some sort of cuck footage leaked, I assumed it was from the settlement meeting with Wade. We've also got Bionic Bra on the panel and in the chat. How are you doing, Jake?
I'm doing great, man. I think this is going to be an excellent episode for number 10.
I think you're right. It's going to be incendiary for sure. We have SmilingBandito with us. Hail and well met, he says.
Hail and well met.
Cheers to his papa in the chat. Of course, we have Blue Samurai Zero with us. How are you, Blue?
I'm doing fine. I really appreciate Mo's comment.
Yeah. And of course, as you can see, our special guest this week is Professor Murph. How are you doing, Murph? Glad to have you with us.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you bet. We've got an incendiary topic, some fun campaign things to look at, and maybe some things that aren't as fun, but you're overcoming them, which I think is pretty cool, and how you're doing it as well. I made sure to get in on that. So far, I got a good chance at that action figure, so I'm pumped.
Oh, when you said he's overcoming things, I thought you meant he had things in his past that may have been.
We all have things in our past.
Right. So let's talk about that. So
now they're 18 years old and attending college.
Hey, we're not talking about my past here.
I only have good things in my past. I don't know what you're talking about.
Right. Yeah. Nothing.
Those are the guys you have to worry about that say that.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So, Blue, since you did remind us about things in our past, why don't you get us going as to what our topic this week is?
Okay. The topic of the week is: should a creator's personal life, past or present, affect people's ability to support them in a, say, for example, a comic book campaign that is creator versus creation? Now, please support your opinions and answers with how and why, or, in what ways and why. So, should a creator's personal life, past or present, affect people's ability to support that creator, like creator versus creation? Now, Jake, did you have any rules you might want to tell us about to keep this discussion organized?
Organized? You came to the wrong guy, but let's keep it clean. Let's keep things above the belt, and let's have a good fight. So, Professor Murph,
yeah, man.
Since you are the guest, which side of this debacle do you take? Are you for it affecting their support, or are you against it affecting their support?
I'm generally for separating the art from the artist, only because anyone can find something in your past that they find objectionable.
Sure.
So to some degree, I think there is a line. Obviously, I'm having trouble with the whole Flash guy. What's his name?
Yeah,
Ezra Miller.
Ezra Miller.
Oh, Ezra Miller.
But I mean, I didn't like him as Flash anyway. I thought he was terrible. But my point is, some of the things he's been accused of are things like possibly child trafficking, stuff like that. That's going beyond the line. But
Right.
Generally, if it's things that people just find, morally objectionable, but I tend to just, prime example is Mel Gibson.
Right.
Some of the things that happen with Mel Gibson, we've all heard the recordings, and it's pretty nasty stuff.
Cost me my Lakers ticket.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah. He's. I should have married a woman, not a little girl, and all that stuff. But anyways, the point is, though, I recognize his talent. I mean, I showed my son Apocalypto the other day, and he loved it. He's a great filmmaker. I also showed him Hacksaw Ridge, excellent movie. Those are great films. So I can separate that. O.J. Simpson, it's a little hard to go back and watch Naked Gun now.
Yeah.
But that's that's a guy who probably crossed the line.
Sure.
So I think it just depends ultimately, but generally I try to just put those things aside because, none of us are perfect. We've all messed up at some point, some more than others. And
what's really weird now is seeing O.J. Simpson on Twitter. Like he puts up these videos and he's just like, and he's just adding commentary to stuff. And he's like, "Hey there, Twitter followers."
That's
creepy.
creepy.
It's just like,
Yeah,
this guy. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it depends, honestly.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to say that you're on the side of it not affecting followers.
I would
or
lean that
the
way.
art or
Yes.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to take the moment and grab a little bit of power. And I'm going to just slide Bandito right onto your team for this one.
Wow, me and Bandito are on the same team. This is going to be a
We're gonna
first.
crush it. You know what? This is.
I think last time we were on the opposite side of whatever we were arguing about on Bancroft's show.
Yeah. This is actually the first time I've been on this side of the argument for anything on the guest side. I'm always picked last. Always picked last for whatever the teams are.
It's okay.
All
They
right,
always
so-
say the best for last is what I'm hearing.
You're with
So
I just
I'm
want to
gonna-
tell you, Mr. Gecko, you're with a winner. There's an example of a
Amen, brother.
guy. There's an example of a guy, Charlie Sheen. Still love his
there we
movies,
go.
but dude, woo.
We'll get.
Yeah,
we
he's out
will pour the tiger blood and celebrate our
right.
victories early.
We just have to keep Bandito and Jake up there separated. That's all.
We always win.
Yeah. Kind of it's kind of nice actually. But
Yeah.
so this time around, I'm just going to sit here as a mediator and I'm going to listen in and I'm going to let Dojo and Blue be your opponents this round. So
Okay, I'm gonna try to fix this. There we go. So we've got the sides. We've got Jake in the middle as the mediator.
I will be right back. Continue. I'll be right back.
Okay.
It's all right. I can win this with one arm tied behind my back.
Visual support.
I do it every night.
Oh man.
For those of
I
you
win. There is no rebuttal.
yeah. The fucking handicap match.
He's not coming back for 40 minutes. Oh, never mind. Here he is. Okay.
Awesome. He's putting on the mic. He's getting serious.
And
Okay.
away we go.
All right, let's throw it down. Professor Murph, you got the gloves on, not taking them off, putting them on.
By
I
the way,
like it.
nice haircut, by the way. Just, they did a good job this time.
Shit's about to get real.
I am a
There
trained
we go.
boxer, by the way.
And then in this corner, we have weighing in at 175 pounds, standing at, I don't fucking know, Professor Murph.
Actually, I'm more like 185, but that's okay.
5'8" and a half.
Actually, 5'10".
You need to get his campaign stats out for
There you go.
yeah.
But,
Okay, so Murph, we're going to start with you as the guest. So please tell us why you take the stance you did, and what, I guess, more information about why you feel that way.
Well, the easiest way. Oh man, I'm just gonna go there. I'm gonna quote one of the most quotable guys in history. Remove the speck in your own eye before removing the plank in your brother's. Things
Remove
like
the plank in your own eye before
yeah,
moving
yeah.
the speck.
Or
It's all right.
whatever.
I'm here for you, partner. Take you back in.
Yeah,
Was that Holopatus?
what's another one? All have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. None are righteous, no, not one.
Like he who is.
He is without sin
Cast
cast
the
the first
stone.
stone.
Yeah,
I mean, how
like
many
that.
times you got to go on with this, right? So I guess my point is just you have to be very careful how you judge other people, because it's going to come around for you eventually if you live your life that way. You're going to be in the hot seat one day, and you're going to be begging for mercy, and you're going to wish you had doled it out the same mercy to others that you want on yourself. And if you weren't merciful, sometimes even if you were, they're going to throw the hammer down. So I don't know. I feel like, try to forgive and forget as best you can. And if someone's really talented and producing great work, there's no reason why the work should be completely forgotten or destroyed just because that person is revealed to have some major character flaws. That's
Ooh,
my
that brings
general
up
stance.
an angle that I think we should veer towards. We're not talking primarily, now it can come up, but we're not talking primarily about cancellation as a phenomenon. We're talking about the individual backers or supporters' decisions, not going on a crusade to get rid of a person out of society.
Yes,
Are we
but those are the
exclusive to that?
first steps towards cancellation, if you know
Of
what
course.
I mean.
Yeah, we'll get there,
So,
but
yeah.
let's not
Okay.
start there.
Gotcha.
So what I'm hearing is that there shouldn't be a line drawn in the sand. It should all be taken with a
There
grain
can
of
be a
salt.
line. No, there can be a line. I just think that line should be really. It should err on the side of grace. Prime example: Pharisees crossed the line, right? Jesus called them out on it. He didn't give them much mercy. So
I get you.
You see what I mean? So there is a line. It's just I think sometimes we make that line unattainable. You know, and we think that
Sure.
we act like we're so perfect. And,
Well, there are people that you are fond of in your own life that you wouldn't, really hold anything against versus people that you don't know very well or might even be on an opposing side. People that throw shade at either, Whoopi Goldberg or, like we said in the back room, Mel Gibson and shit like that. But they're both on different sides of that coin.
Yeah.
And it just, but do you hold them both at the same merit? Should they be?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I find a way to separate it because if I see a film that I love or I hear a song by a band that I love, I'm not going to stop loving that film or loving that song or even liking that actor or actress just because I find out something about them that I find. I mean, if that were the case, I wouldn't follow half of Hollywood because half of them are a bunch of communists anyways. So my point is, you got to. I think social media has kind of really done a lot of damage to art because things were better when we knew less about the people we admire. The more you find, what does it say? Familiarity breeds contempt. The more you find out about,
never meet your heroes.
Yes, the more we find out about these people, the less.
That's why I don't know any of you fuckers.
That's why you love me, Bandito, right?
Can I leave now that Murph is here?
I took the gloves off. Don't worry.
All right. Well, I'm the fucking mediator. Blue, Dojo, what you got to say?
All right, we'll go with you, Blue. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. So do you mean to imply that there's no line a person can cross where you would want to disassociate yourself from them as a customer? Not even publicly known, just as a customer.
I didn't say no line. I said that line has to be it's pretty far out. If it's politics, no. If it's religion, no. If it's child trafficking, yes. If it's
there's a line.
If they're a convicted rapist or murderer,
Oh, the show
of
just
course.
went off the air.
Right. So my point is, obviously there's a line, but it's borderline. It's beyond criminal to just an evil person, literally, like like O.J. Simpson or something like that. But there's so many things you can find objectionable that someone said or did or that it's just. I try to just separate it. I have to because to me the art and the artist, they're one to a degree, but look at all the things that have come out by like Neil Gaiman and all these other people lately that we found out about these creators. And I've heard Alan Moore say things that I was just like, oh, why did you say that?
Yeah, that was always the case with Alan Moore.
Yes, but you know what? I still love Alan Moore.
He's a wizard living out in the fields of Ireland or Scotland or something like that.
Yeah.
So
I mean, even like Mark Ruffalo, for example, on Twitter all the time. I don't hate the guy. I don't agree with him. But, I still think he did a fine job as Bruce Banner or David Banner or whatever the heck Banner's name is in the movies. It's Bruce, I guess, again.
Bruce.
Yeah,
David,
and I mean, I
actually.
liked his Hulk and all that, and it is what it is. I loved Captain America. Chris Evans is great Captain America, but I don't agree with literally any of his politics practically. So, but who cares, right? That's the difference between us and the other side in a lot of cases is they don't do that. You have to be completely within that box that they've created, or they don't want to associate with you, buy your stuff, and to me that's just silly.
So if I were going to prison for some crime committed, you'd still listen to my in prison podcast because you can separate that. You like the podcast.
You could definitely find an audience.
Depends on what you went to prison for, right? I mean, if it was selling drugs, sure. If you're embezzling money, oh well, I don't know. So if you're
But that also
dodging your
depends
taxes,
on the subject of the matter of the podcast, which is how to get around taxes. So you might still listen to that no matter what.
we're all trying to figure that out with the whole.
So if I go to prison
crowdfunding
for
thing.
drug dealing, but my podcast is about tax, shall we say, avoidance, which is the American
careful with the
sport.
word evasion.
Yeah, then you're
I deny all association.
you're still going to listen though.
Right, but I mean, if you were convicted of abducting and murdering a child, no, I mean then the only thing I'd want to hear from you is what's going on in your sick head. Maybe that's just why. But other than that, I would not send you my money or anything.
So do you still watch films from the Weinstein Company?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Planet Terror.
Yeah, but see those. I mean, even though they were produced by Weinstein, they're not really. I'm not watching Harvey.
They're
Weinstein.
not one of his babies.
Right,
Yeah,
and the
yeah,
truth is, Harvey Weinstein did a lot of good things too. He wasn't just all evil. He gave a lot of opportunities to filmmakers, and I don't mean casting couch opportunities. I'm talking just legit, filmmakers.
Those were legit transactions.
Yes, that when he bought their movies at film festivals. Nobody's doing that anymore. Nobody in Hollywood. It's gone. That's over.
Mm-hmm.
He was like the last holdout of people that were still taking a chance on new talent, and nobody's doing it anymore. So, in that regard, something really has been lost in spite of all the horrible things that he's done. And let's all be honest here. A lot of that stuff is just buyer's remorse. I mean, a lot of those accusations and things, those girls knew what they were doing. And they were building their
Bandwagon.
careers, and they're sorry about it, and they're ashamed, and now it's popular to come out and say they're,
So they're doing the popular thing.
Well, and
To
there
some
are
degree.
people.
Dojo.
There are people that lost their careers because of it. Like when you look at what's her name, Rose, the big one that came out,
McGowan, right?
Rose McGowan.
Yeah.
Like she refused it, and because of that, she did end up losing her career. So I think those people, 100%, they should be able to come out, say something, and whatever. But my understanding is that she did actually end up having a settlement around her as well to not say anything. In which case, it's like, we all have our mistakes that other people have made towards us. If they have made some amends for it, whether that be a settlement or whether that be the career that they ended up getting or something like that, I mean, it's up to you to not make those mistakes going forward. But you don't really get to drag them out because you've made the agreement as this is what it cost you. Right. And this is what you got paid out for.
Well, and let's be honest here. Let's just cover the elephant in the room or address it. The casting couch has been a common tradition since the dawn of Hollywood.
Yeah.
And,
even
female
before
and
that.
male.
Yeah, and I'm not
How do you
saying
think
that's right.
How do you think
Right.
maids were hired for the castles?
Of course.
Yeah.
So the point is, I'm not saying that's right. I'm just saying that's just the way it was.
Yeah.
So to all of a sudden go, oh my gosh, this is so. Guys, it's been going on forever. Jack Warner did it. Louis B. Mayer did it. They all did it. So if you're gonna hold that line, then you need to quit watching pretty much every movie that's ever been made because they're all connected at some point to that part of the industry, all of them.
Yeah.
So, hey,
I
Dojo, do we have the little disclaimer thing that you like to put up before I say more?
Yes, let's do that. For those of you who don't know, we may be arguing against points that we hold. So let's do this. Okay.
I will always say that's necessary.
Yeah, because I have to argue this. I actually have to keep looking at the sentence I read because just to remember what I'm arguing. Because I'm trying to do this without diving into guilt by association. So, all right. So my take on this is that when I look at a creator's work, my take, right, is if I want to participate in giving them a career by buying their work, it's to me it feels a lot more like there's a great way to make an argument. My feelings, anyway, to me it's more akin to if I met them on the street and I'm lending them my support there. If I met them in person and I'd have a problem with meeting them in person, then why would I support them remotely through other industries or whatnot? Just drop them. But this is one man. I'm not talking cancel culture yet. We're not there. We're not at that point yet. That's just my individual decision to say, I'm not going to buy your book or see your movie because I don't want to support you.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a big reason why we do what we do with the crowdfunding. Why is it that a campaign makes more money when I get on camera and talk to people than me just putting it out there? Because they want to know who I am, or at least who they think I am, whoever I'm presenting on camera. Now, how do you know this is me? It could be me. I could be acting. You don't know. So my point is, all you know is what I'm giving to you or what you're seeing. So,
I have family connections and got your rap sheet, and now I know who you are.
I mean, yeah, you're probably, I know you follow me on, I think, Instagram or Twitter or somewhere. But my point is, even that is that is a filtered representation of the person. Where these movie stars go wrong and people like that is they start spouting their views, thinking that somehow they're elevating their position in front of people, when actually they're alienating their audience or dividing their audience. So the point is, I mean, you are right to a degree. The reason why I've had so much success is because I've gone out and hustled, and I get on camera. I mean, nothing against you guys not being. I know you've all been on camera at some point, but my point is, I get on camera. I make it a point to get on camera as much as possible because I want people to see me, hear me talk, and hopefully try to get to know who I am. So then they're like, you know, I trust this guy. I think he's going to do a great book. Let me back his project. So yes, to that degree, character, I guess, does matter. But how much character are you getting?
The other aspect of that is that it doesn't matter how you end up acting. You're always going to have people that will disagree with you and not want to, support you because they feel like politics don't line up, or you don't even have to have done anything wrong. They just might not support you. Maybe they don't like
I did nothing wrong to Rob Arnold, and Rob Arnold attacks me all the time.
All the time.
Constantly.
This guy, I tell you. So, there is, I think your point kind of becomes a non-issue, Blue, when it's like, if somebody chooses not to support someone,
exactly
because of their past, it's kind of on them, right? That's not on the creator themselves. So I personally don't think it becomes, it shouldn't be a defining moment for the creator themselves as to whether or not, their past can be brought up, or should change how their campaigns end up funding, or the support that they get from their fans. Because, it's not, no matter how somebody acts, there's always going to be somebody out there who wants them to change, to do something different.
Well, yeah, you can't please everybody, obviously.
There you
I
go.
will say, with regards to Mo Biggs, though, I've never seen God, but I believe in God, okay? So just like Mo, I've never seen you. I believe in you, Mo. And you don't have to show me your face, because I know your heart.
Mo is an AI bot, and the most sophisticated AI bot there is. Okay, so does this imply then that we are? And I'm saying this. I'm asking this question as a retort, not as a moderator, because that's not my job tonight. So does that imply then that on the individual level, it is somehow wrong? Are you saying that an individual should not consider a person's past when they're looking at whether or not they want to and let's just say they trip across it by accident. Somebody suddenly posted on Twitter something awful about your past, Murph, and all the bodies you have buried in your backyard. Are you saying everyone should turn a blind eye to that? And if not, why not?
Well, because, that would be a very exhausting way to live your life. I'd have to research every store I ever shop at, every brand of clothing I wear, every book I buy, every movie I see, every song I listen to, the people who build my house, the banks that loan me the money. God knows what some of these banks are up to, and who they've been supporting and what they've been financing over the years, who finance our houses and give us mortgages. If you're really going to live your life that way, you're going to spend your whole life doing research on people and coming up empty.
Not only that, it limits. It also ends up limiting anything you can do in the world, because our cell phones, our computers that we're doing this podcast on right now, everything has some sort of background that really we probably shouldn't be supporting. Like, we probably should ethically be very disturbed by what
Slave labor.
The slave labor, everything that this stuff comes from.
Labor.
And for anybody to say that, one person's past, just because you now know about it, becomes the defining moment for whether or not you support them or not, it does become exceedingly hypocritical, especially when we consider the works of the people we don't know. We don't know what Leonardo da Vinci was getting up to at 3 o'clock in the morning on his Fridays. We don't know.
Well, we know a little bit. We know what Ben Franklin was getting up to.
Yeah.
There's one right there.
Right.
Thomas Jefferson.
Yeah. This is why. Go ahead, Bandito. Sorry to cut you.
Oh, I was just going to say, but the measure, like when we do want to go to certain extreme examples, I mean, if you want to go to the extremes of murder or, we were talking about trafficking, that kind of thing, there are things that we want to make sure people aren't able to continue to do, which, I mean, these are things that are illegal and that kind of thing. And if we feel like our support of them allows them to continue to do it, then that's a whole nother problem. It's not about the art, right? It's about the evil things that they are doing. And I don't want to get to the, if we're getting to the extremes of illegal things, I think we're kind of taking the conversation too far, because obviously we don't want to see those things happening. We don't want to be supporting people getting away with that stuff, especially if our support is somehow giving them the means to do so. Right.
I think the prison system sort of removes our options in terms of supporting a creator who's doing illegal things.
Not always.
They have a pause in their career. It gets a little more difficult.
Sometimes, but sometimes not. Right? Like, I mean, we do look at like the trafficking stuff that's been coming out, and the legal system didn't release any client names from. We don't want to name
Maxwell.
Yeah, we don't want to name all those things because we might actually get shut down. But those names weren't released. So I mean, like the court system did fail us. So I mean, there could be room in there for people to want to not support others who were connected, that could have been connected to that, right? So I get that. However, outside of the illegal things that we think these people might be doing, I think that no, their past should be ignored if you can appreciate the art.
So what if it came to a company and those running the company like Balenciaga,
right,
where
we just went down again? Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's very controversial for the kind of stuff they were promoting to be talked about or allowed within our culture here on this side of the globe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's when I can't separate the art from the company, because their art literally is, what their company is bringing out, and their art was,
And that's a distinction we made. Yeah, that's a distinction I made earlier when poking at Justin here, was when I'm in prison for dealing drugs, and my podcast has to do with the tax code. My crime has nothing to do with the content of my podcast. And
Right.
You've just brought up, well, what about when the two come together? The content is the crime. Different category.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, and the problem with the Balenciaga thing is I wouldn't buy their stuff anyway, so it's really hard for me to even care.
I can't afford that shit.
Right,
anyway.
it's hideous. But my point is,
Are you kidding me? I had to have a garage sale after their last marketing event.
where it gets tricky, and what you guys are pointing out, is when you have something you love, like a movie or a comic book or a band or whatever, and then you find out something about that creator that you find really disturbing or troubling.
Right.
How do you hang on to that thing you love? Most of the time, 9 times out of 10, I'm still able to hang on to that thing I love. Mm-hmm. It's rare that I'm like, I'm done with that. Like, it's very rare. It's almost
for me,
never happened.
For me with actors, okay, no kayfabe here. This is an honest statement. For me with actors in movies, the producers are usually a little bit far back. Executive producers do have final call, but they don't get involved. Directors are very involved in story control, etc., even above writers. But actors are basically puppets. So
Yeah,
actors
you are
being
right.
dorks
Yeah.
really doesn't bother me, even though they get a ton of money for what they do, especially over writers, as far as I understand. I believe actors are paid better than writers, but still,
You'd be right.
they're puppets, you know.
And they have to do a
But you know-
job. They're told what to do, and only a few select actors have enough power to challenge the director
Yeah.
or the producers. They just
Yeah.
have to do it, or not get the job.
And if I buy a hard copy of a movie, one, I attend movies very rarely anyway anymore. But even pre-COVID, it was on the downslope. But if I get hard copies, they're at the secondhand shop, so no one profits from me. You know, that's just me. Anyway,
We all like ollies.
so if there's something that an individual finds objectionable, you said, but it's exhausting, you'd have to do all that homework. That's not quite how I phrased it. I did bring up if we just accidentally discover the mound of dead bodies in your backyard.
Well, here's the problem, though, and why we have to be careful not to just travel into hypocrisy. Because, okay, I find out something about something. Oh my gosh, well, I'm not supporting that person. But I'm not going to bother to find out anything else, which I could be supporting someone who's far worse, but I just don't care to look. You see what I mean? So if you're going to go down that road, it's kind of an all or nothing proposition to some degree, I feel. And otherwise, just don't go down it. Now, what you're saying is, well, what if, prime example, the Ezra Miller thing. Everybody found out about all that. Yeah, it's disturbing, but the thing is, I never liked him anyways. I've not liked him as Flash. I don't like him, and I could care less about Ezra Miller. But what if it was Mel Gibson? I love Mel Gibson's acting. I love most of his movies, and I love his directing. What do I do about that? Well, he got drunk and said some horrible things to his wife, and he's got some issues with, a certain community that I'm not going to talk about here, but he's got some issues with it. And those are things Mel's got to work out. And I've had people say he's a horrible person, and then you've got people like Robert Downey Jr. that says he saved my life, like he got me out of alcoholism. So
Yeah.
Mel Gibson is a good man and a bad man, just like all of us. So I wash all that away, and I see his work and his art, and I say, I love that stuff. I'm going to continue loving it regardless of how objectionable the stuff is I found out about him.
100% agree. The other thing is, how far can we extend all of that, right? When it comes to you want to cancel someone like Mel Gibson, as soon as you do that, or not cancel, if you want to
Personally boycott is where we are.
Yeah, if you want to personally boycott someone like Mel Gibson for, the things that he said or done, when someone else that you like more does something worse, are you able to take your stance and extend that to, something else, when you like something else more? So this is when separating the art from the artist, does become a significant concept that we have to consider, because otherwise you pull the threads just a little bit. You say like the actors are pawns in this larger game. They're just told what to do. But when you start to pull the thread from one actor, right, you suddenly realize that they're connected. It's all everybody is connected to everything else, and it's almost like one big inbred family. That when you pull on one thing, it ends up hurting something else and bringing something else to light over on in another part of your life.
Bryan Singer.
Sure.
Bryan Singer. I love the movie Valkyrie. I think the movie Valkyrie is an excellent film. And it's about a German who, tried to assassinate, the mustache man. But yeah, I know. I'm pretty sure Bryan Singer's
okay. You brought
guilty.
up. Hold on a second. You brought up Ghislaine. You brought up Valencia.
Singer.
You brought up Epstein. But you're drawing the line at Hitler.
No, I'm saying I think Valkyrie. I
Drawing-
think Valkyrie's a great movie.
Yeah,
What
but
I'm
you're
saying
drawing the
is-
line at saying the name.
Well, no, I don't want you guys to get. I don't want you guys to get. I didn't think it would get you
We're
guys.
way
like,
past that.
Okay. Then, my point is, Valkyrie's an excellent film. I think Bryan Singer is a very talented director. He's done a lot of good stuff. Is he probably guilty of some of the stuff they accuse him? Probably. But and do I think it's disgusting? Yes. But I'm not going to say Valkyrie's a bad movie. And if I want to watch it one day again, I'm going to watch it again. Tom Cruise, I mean, all the Scientology stuff and how goofy he acted and all the weird things he said back in 10 years ago, he's still making great movies, right?
Even better movies.
Yes,
Yeah,
the guy just doesn't quit. I mean, I admire that, even though I think his Scientology stuff is totally whacked. So once again, I can separate the art from the artist. It's not hard.
So I've been pretty quiet, and that's largely because I don't want to cough and sniff on stream. But I do have one quick point to make, and that is arguing on the side that I'm supposed to take. Make that clear. When some of
Devil's
the,
advocate.
I'm going to use the analogy of a musician or a singer, and when Katie Lang came out as homosexual, that did not change my fandom for her voice. Incredible singer. Sounds like I'm agreeing with Bandito and Murph, but stick with me for a minute here. When I learned that Elton John came out as gay, again, wasn't going to have a problem with that, but I was explaining this to Jake beforehand, and that is
he didn't have to come out. So.
when the video for Nikita came out, it was still sort of under wraps. He wasn't, admitting it at that point. And the video itself was about a female Russian soldier on the other side of the fence that he longed for from a distance, etc. But then we learned, in fact, well, number one, Nikita is a male name in Russia, and we know better than to think that he'd be pining for that beautiful blonde. So what that does for me, now, do I have anything against Elton personally? No, but it hits differently for me now whenever I hear a song by him about love or, desire or whatever. So although I still can appreciate his musicianship, I take a different stance as to how I feel about, listening to his music when he's singing about, this is your song. I wrote this all for you out of love. Now I'm picturing it differently. And I'm picturing perhaps a lifestyle that is not an anathema to me, but very, very different from my own and difficult to grasp. And I guess I'll say it, support. So that would really be my only stance that has any, I'll say, genuineness to it, where I have a difficult time separating the art from the artist, because now I'm picturing things differently when I hear it from him or George Michael or Adam Lambert, etc. I'm
maybe
still
that's
a huge. Oh, go ahead.
But maybe that's because now you're interpreting the art differently than you did before. So it's not just that you're separating the art from the artist. You're realizing that the art doesn't mean what you thought it meant, and now that you know what it means, you're like, oh, I don't want to listen to that song anymore.
Or maybe not even that.
Be it. Yep.
Because for the artist, sometimes they do write these songs and they want it to be where whoever listens to it can pull whatever they want from it without it actually reflecting on the artist themselves. In fact, the more marketable the music is, the more they try to make sure that's happening because they want a broader audience. So now that this kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier too, where, it kind of comes down to the fan to decide what they see the art as. And because, if the art changes because of the artist, it becomes a personal problem for the fan. It's not so much a reflection on how, it's not a reflection on reality, right? That's more about your feelings as opposed to the facts.
No, I mean, you're right. Yeah, some art can definitely, it's open to interpretation. I mean, the movies of Stanley Kubrick are a prime example.
I went through a weird transition with that one. No kayfabe at the moment, but
are you going to Elton John us right now?
Maybe, but it was
with your weird transition.
Oh God, y'all twist my words all the time. You guys are worse than Mo. Anyway, it was, for me, it was REM. Like, I did not realize Michael Stipe was gay forever, and and I was pretty young at the time, so I didn't care. But the bigger thing was I didn't understand some of what they were saying were word puzzles, I misunderstood some of what they were saying just as mere word puzzles, because I found out how he wrote some of his lyrics, and some of his lyrics are self-referential, where if you don't know the personal anecdote behind it, you don't have any idea what he's talking about. Like the line "birthday party," etc. in for the end, "It's the End of the World as We Know It" is actually a reference to a party that they had when the band was just starting out. Who the hell knows that crap? When you're listening to a song, but they had some things that I violently misinterpreted through ignorance. And then years later, after I learned a lot about communist propaganda, I went back and listened to REM again, and it was like, oh, holy cow, this is unbelievable just how communist they are. And this was back in the mid 80s. So their song Cuyahoga from I don't know why I want to name the album, but anyway, it's their fourth album. But their song Cuyahoga is a massive political diatribe, and I completely misinterpreted that as a kid. But the thing that disappoints me most is it's fun to play that bass line, even though it's pretty simple. So I mean that was a huge disappointment. Where half their catalog now I kind of have to skip when I hear it, because it's like, no, you guys, this is all political propaganda. I'm done on that track now. And just the song Cuyahoga is a great example of, they packed every anti-white, anti-American conspiracy theory into one song. It's the assertion that they don't reassert it in the song. They refer to these assertions, like that the Bible was re-edited in order for white people to take over America and suppress all other non-white people, etc., rewriting history as they go. And no, I did not think Orange Crush was about soda. I thought it was about Vietnam. But anyway, I saw the video. Now, for George Michael, I don't get the rewrite in my head now that I know about him, because I saw a couple of his videos when I was a kid, and they all involve women. So, that one doesn't really ruin it for me, because I guess I was visually programmed. But yeah, REM, for me, I mean, I'm negative towards war, but I know it's a necessary evil that we need to live. And so some of their anti-war stuff doesn't bother me as much, because, no good soldier actually wants to go to war. It's a last resort, and like I said, a necessary evil. Anyway, it was a huge waking up moment where I have to separate the art from the artist, but I can do that only on the tracks where the content is separatable between the art and the artist. And it comes down to the content in that case. But then I didn't really get all the lyrics of a later song they did called "At My Most Beautiful." And now if I heard that one again, I'd probably, there's a live version of it I used to have where he's talking, it's a live BBC thing. And he mentions how he's dolled up with glitter on his face. It's like, okay, if you're going to be flaming about your homosexuality, now you've presented it in such a way that's different from how George Michael had videos out there with women in them. It's a little bit different there, but I don't know the lyrics to that song in particular.
Well, so, and songs are misinterpreted all the time. I mean, like Bandito was saying, a lot of it is on the listener or the audience rather than the artist. Prime example, in the 80s, Born in the USA by Springsteen.
The Boss.
Yeah, that was considered a patriotic anthem in the 80s.
Oh, it was anything but.
Yeah, and if you listen to the lyrics, it's an anti-Vietnam song. It's about it's very sarcastic in some ways and ironic, and it's all about look at what this country's doing to me, throwing me out to go fight their wars and all. And Reagan would use it, he'd wave the American flag, and I thought as a kid, oh, Born in the USA, I'm like, yeah, okay, it's all patriotic. There's nothing patriotic really about that song at all.
Does anyone look past the refrains on lyrics ever?
But that's
right.
the point. Yeah, music is probably the most misinterpreted art form of all, because most people, they learn about 10% of the lyrics to a song, and they don't even ever learn the rest. So they don't even really know what the song's about. They just know that they like to jam to it.
The more that times change, the more the things stay the same, right? Because it's still the same thing now. We still misinterpret all the lyrics, and it's all kinds of stuff that's coming out, and it's all under the radar because it has some sort of, catch to it, a good hook, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, even movies. I mean, there was a film. I don't know if any of you are fans of Ralph Bakshi, because me being an animator, I've always loved this sort of independent spirit.
Of course.
And he did a movie in the 70s called Coonskin, and it practically destroyed his career. And you want to talk about a misinterpreted film? It had Brother Bear, Brother Rabbit, and Brother Fox, and it was kind of like a Shaft blaxploitation style movie. animated movie, and it was supposed to poke fun at like the stereotypes and the traditional things that at the time that were used, and Al Sharpton brought his entourage to the premiere, and they hadn't even watched the movie. They just heard about it, and they practically shut this thing down. I mean, he had his thugs in the back of the theater, and they were gonna bust up Ralph and everything. And Ralph's like, "Dude, I'm a Jewish guy. I grew up in Brooklyn. Half my neighbors were black." He's like, "This is a movie," and like they just right over their head. So it's a prime example right there of how stuff gets misinterpreted all the time.
All right, before we close, and I'm going to switch teams for a moment. One thing I did want to bring out is I do have a personal limitation, and it goes back to stuff Murph was saying at the beginning about everybody's sin and fallen short and things like that. Two items, and I realize I'm talking a lot. I keep forgetting to talk more because Dojo can't talk right now. He's exhausted because he's been sick, so we'll just let him have the night off. One is
he took all your time last week too. So
yeah, he owes me anyway. It's that one thing I do see when somebody has a past is, repentance. If they've grown and changed, that's very different to me from somebody who's continuing in some kind of behavior, especially abusive behaviors. Yeah, I know Mo is there. It's like
you did Elton John us.
Yeah. Anyway, but that's one criteria for me is if I see somebody continuing a bad behavior where, especially if it affects, I guess, people around them, then I might not want to back your book. But is that different from seeing your movie? Different media have different categories to them, like a crowdfund campaign, directly handing my money to a creator, and you're still being a jerk to people. I'm gonna say no. I don't care if your art is good. I don't care if your storytelling is good. I really don't want to hand $35 a pop to people who are abusing others, and it's that simple. And then
bad customer service is bad customer service, but
Yeah.
now you're talking business more than that's a given. I agree with
Yeah.
you. If someone's treating their customers badly, of course, but that's not it. That has nothing to do with them as their past. They're just not a good business person.
And
Well,
that
I don't know,
comes
for
back
that
to
kind
the
of
other
stuff.
category, which was repentance. If their past was something, and they should not be in, and it's not something where we're talking about being in prison, and it's not really a character issue, it's a growing up issue, then I can be more forgiving of that, and just say, yeah, I don't need to go digging through things. It is exhausting, which reminds me of the other bit I wanted to say. So there's those
He's
two
yielding, Bandito. He's yielding.
Yeah. And then, well, we're gonna let you talk about your in about a minute. We're gonna let you talk about your campaign again. What's going on with War Party? So, the other bit, I remember being in church, and I went to an abusive church, but it had to sink in for a while. They were subtle, but man, if you got in the wrong crowd in that church, they were so high and mighty, and they actually promoted certain attitudes and then spoke against those attitudes while still promoting them. A weird example was one guy they talked about. He wasn't a member at the church. It was just an example of going too far. And then they'd push you too far. But the too far was this dude was so worried about sin, and I don't know who the example guy was, but he got to the point where he realized that just eating kept him alive to continue being a sinner, and he didn't know how to resolve that. So it's like, yeah, you don't want to live your life trying to do homework on everybody before you go watch a movie. You can't live like that. And of course, like I said, the church I was at was weird. So even though they said, don't be like this guy, they pushed a lot of attitudes to try and make you be like that guy. So there we go.
Well, and remember, and you've heard this said before, never apologize to an SJW. Why? Because they won't accept your apology. They will take it and they will crush you with it. So the question I pose is, whose side do we want to be on? Do we want to be on the person that judges and crushes, or do we want to be on the side that, the guy I mentioned earlier said to be on, which is give people the benefit of the doubt, give them grace. Like you said, though, the repentance part is important. If someone doesn't say, you know what, I screwed up, that, and I shouldn't have done it, or shouldn't have said that, or I feel bad about that. The problem is, like I said, when you apologize to a certain segment of the population, they see that as weakness and they attack you further with it. Whereas a reasonable person, which you are, if someone apologized, you would probably give them the benefit of the doubt to some degree, obviously, depending on what they're apologizing
And
for.
when I say repentance, I don't even mean apologizing to a mob, especially in a mob of SJWs. Forget it. I'm referring to maturing process, repentance over years, growing up.
And changing,
That kind of
right.
thing. Yeah.
Changing,
So,
right.
so Murph, before we get to Bandito's final word, because we usually give him the closer on this, I'm trying to do double duty for Dojo, and I'm afraid I'm edging in on Jake here. But what can you tell us is going on with War Campaign right now?
War Campaign?
I'm sorry, not War Campaign. Excuse me.
You are canceled, my friend.
Your
I will not forgive you for what you just said.
War Party, your Indiegogo campaign.
Oh my God. Okay.
The truth comes out. This has been a very revealing.
I'm not even Catholic, and you guys are already telling me to go do Hail Marys in the private chat. Thanks a lot.
I
Well, I
forgive
thought
you.
you were just outing Professor Murph. That's all I thought.
I forgive you, Blue Samurai, for calling me. Actually, I mean, I think some of my backers are War Campaign, so love you guys too. I forgive you too.
We are open to everybody who just wants to hang out and watch
Yeah,
the show.
anyone
It's all
wants
good.
to give me money, I am not going to say no. All right, and I will send you your books. No, so yeah, it's doing well. Of course, for those of you that don't know, it was shadow banned on Indiegogo. You can no longer find this link. Even if you type War Party in Indiegogo, you will not find this link, even though the campaign's still in demand. So I did a second chance
had your
campaign.
link earlier.
Yeah, I did a second chance campaign, which is active. But what I did was I embedded this URL in the second chance campaign. That's a way around Indiegogo. So now when people go to my second chance campaign, I say, you want issues 1 through 6? Click here, and it takes them here. So I had to do that. It was one way, a work around their ridiculous rules. But yeah, as soon as I hit 75, my next stretch goal is 75,000. So what? I'm less than $50 away. As soon as I hit 75, issue 6 is going to be 48 pages, which means a longer wait. I know, guys. I know I'm behind, but I want to give you as much story as possible before I wrap this particular series up. So issue 6 will be 48 pages. And I mean, it's amazing. I can't believe I'm here. This is my first comic book campaign. And
Can we please highlight Mo Biggs' last comment?
You know what? Maybe you should try that. That would be interesting.
Jesus.
Then I really would know something's going on. But no, it's the shadow banning thing is real. It's definitely real. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Because this thing was on the page 1 and page 2 and has been, honestly, for the almost 2 years. Like, I've never dropped below like page 4 or 5. Indiegogo has promoted and pushed this book, and it's done well. And then all of a sudden, and I know what happened, I put some sample pages on there, and there was a violent image in one of the pages, and I guarantee you that's what did it. And the problem with Indiegogo is you take it off, and then you go back and you email them, and you get nothing. It's like, nope, you're not coming back, you're gone. So anyways, I can't complain. I mean, look at what it's raised. I mean,
Do you like self-inflicting pain?
What does that mean? Why? How have I done that?
You put on the grueling images, man.
Well, I mean, I honestly, I felt like I needed to put some sample pages, and I just did not.
Nah, I get you. I'm just.
I didn't think about it, man. I was like, and I went back and I was like, oh no, it has that shot where the guy's jaw is getting like shoved on a fence rail. I'm like, that's got to be what it is, because I don't think it's the CG thing, because there's a lot of CG campaigns that are still up and doing fine. So I really don't think it's about that. I think it's about if you put violent imagery on there and they ban you, you're not coming back. It's very hard to. I don't know how you come back. I've reached out. I've gotten nothing. So at any rate, like I said, I can't complain. It's $75,000. I mean, boo-hoo, right?
You got some fantastic art on here.
Well, thanks. Well, I mean, that's a big reason why, art is a big selling point. And
Yeah, I want that a poster. I want that a poster right there.
What, that?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. The problem with posters is they're so expensive to ship, because I like to roll them up, so I have to ship them in tubes, and I mean, it's like $6, $7 to ship that thing.
I mean, I promise I won't ruin it. No hams to be smacked.
We've got both of your campaign link, but we'll forget campaign. I'll keep screwing it up. We got both of your party links in the chat right now. Felix Haas was posting one of them earlier, so we've got a second chance to get some of these doodads you see here, and then the issues 1 through 6 is a different link. And dude, you've been rather prolific, and I appreciate that you went ahead and dug into your pocket and shipped out half of your fulfillment, early because you're doing floppies.
Yeah, it's a heavy hit. I took about a $6,000 hit on those 2 deliveries. And I'm going to take another 3,000 on the next one, and I might ship 5 before 6. So I might ship twice again, only because I feel bad making the readers wait so long, and I understand people get frustrated. And they're like, I wanted all 6 books at once, and I'm like, what you have to realize is when you're crowdfunding, you're building something, and this campaign has grown so much bigger than I anticipated when I started. And then of course I got work from John Malin, and I took a few months off to go do Godlike. Those are opportunities you can't turn down, and it's one of those things where I hope the backers understand that you're not just backing War Party, you're backing me as an artist. So anything I can do to raise my cachet and do better, and honestly, half the money I'm making from John going right back into this. So I went to go work for John to take half the money he gave me and put it back into this project. So even then I'm working for War Party.
Speaking of this project, I'm going to come on Mike for a second here, and that's I often hold your campaign, Murph, up as the gold standard as far as, well, first of all, as a first campaign, what an incredible start you've had here, but also too your ability to continue the interest and hype in your campaign. And by hype, I'm not using that as a negative connotation. I mean literal excitement and hype. When you add something new to your campaign, and you do often, I have to give you kudos for that. You make it such that somebody who's already backed you before isn't penalized for having done so. We don't have to refund and then reback, et cetera. You always add the things such that we are able to make an additional backing to the ones we've already made. I think I've backed War Party 5 times maybe, but for different things. Mm-hmm. And I appreciate the fact that you are giving us more content. The tchotchkes like bookmarks and stickers and keychains, those are all great, but I really appreciate when you add things like book content, and you've been doing that. And I hope you hit that stretch goal of the additional, $47 here, because, 8 more pages means more content. And that's what I like most when it gets added to a campaign.
Well, it's actually 16 more pages because issue 6 was originally going to be 32 pages. So you're getting...
Goddamn.
Yeah, you're getting 16 more pages, and a lot of those are going to be double-page spreads. So I'm able to put more big battle scenes and things like that, and really open it up.
Great.
But it's it's going to take longer. And
oh wait, you need $47?
Yeah, to hit my stretch. And honestly, since this was shadow banned, I've been crawling towards 75,000 for the past month. I think I've only made $1,000 this month.
Okay.
So, I mean, I've been like clawing my way because nobody sees it anymore. This campaign, and I don't say this to be arrogant, I'm just saying this on the trajectory I was on, this was going to hit 6 figures. If it had not been shadow banned, in another year, I would have hit $100,000. Now that it is, I don't know if it ever will. But, like I said, it's still embedded in my Second Chance campaign, which... If you bring up the Second Chance campaign, I have another cool sort of announcement that Dojo mentioned earlier about an action figure, because the action figures on this one sold out in 48 hours, and they were $275 a piece. Sold out in 48 hours.
Do you have any in the $10 range?
No, because I'm doing the same thing. They're going to be limited edition, 10 to 20 total, and that's it for each campaign. The next one, but this is the thing, if you back anything at any level on the Second Chance campaign, your name is going to be put in on the spinner to potentially win a free action figure for Blackout, which is going to be in my next series, which takes place in the 1970s. So it's Diane in a 70s jumpsuit with sunglasses, and she's got a
I'm going to get the image for you, Murph.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So that and the reason I did that was to obviously boost some interest in the Second Chance campaign. For people that may have either already backed the book and want to try to get the action figure. Right now you're competing against how many backers are there? It's not very many.
21 right now.
Yeah, 21 people. That's who you're competing against so far. As soon as this closes in 35 days, I don't know whose show I'll go on, but I'm going to go on somebody's show, and we're going to do a spinner for that figure, and whoever's backer number comes up, I'm shipping that figure immediately. She's already done. They're already made, they're already manufactured, they're already boxed and ready
so
to
far,
go.
I like my odds.
They're very good.
I'm
And
sorry,
hey, if you back more than once, your backer number, you have more than one backer number, so you have more than one chance to winner.
See what I'm talking about? This
I'm
guy
sorry,
knows what
I
he's
missed
doing.
I missed the detail there because I was going through my 10 different backings of your campaign. You show a lot of good faith to your customers by doing that midpoint fulfillment, so that people know when you're adding to the campaign, you really are giving us more content, like a different poster or whatever. Sure, the poster was there in the first place, but rather than just, hey, I have more and I haven't given you anything yet. No, I really appreciate you doing 2 different shipments already to get us books.
Well,
So
and I love periodicals. If I could ship each issue at a time, I would, because I like the idea of like rolling it out gradually. And I mean, 2 years later, people are still getting War Party books. It's almost like you've done a subscription. If I'd have known I was going to do it this way, I would have been more upfront with it in the beginning. But I wasn't sure how I was going to handle all of this, you know. And now I know. I'm like, you know what? This is how I want to do it in the future. I want to roll out these books. I'll plan my shipping out accordingly. But what's cool about, and this is for everybody that's crowdfunding. The number one thing customers want, in my experience with what I've done with this, I mean, bookmarks are great, posters are great, tchotchkes, all that stuff. The number one thing people want more than anything else, more content, more pages,
Story.
more artwork, more story. That's what they want. And not even really supplemental. They would rather have you beef up the book or beef up what you're already giving them. There's nothing wrong with supplementals, but you know, adding more story, like me adding issue 0. I sold out of 250 copies of issue 0. There were 250 copies of that limited edition sold. Then I had to do another version with a different cover. I sold a ton of handbooks. People wanted the handbook. Now I'm selling Diane's War Diary, which is a whole other book, and you can see there I haven't sold very many, but I think I've sold like close to 100 in my other campaign. So I've already sold 100. It's a hardback book, a $45 hardback book.
Yeah.
So people want content. That's what they want. So if you can give it to them, if you're the artist like me, I don't have to pay anybody. That's just my labor. That's my time. The only cost to me is manufacturing the book.
Lucky
which isn't
bastard.
that much. So
You know,
that's where
I
I
wanna-
have an advantage.
I know, right?
If you can
I
draw
wanna-
your own work, you can create whatever your time will allow you to create. And it's funny because doing this gig for John Malin was really good for sharpening my skills. I had to give him a 32-page supplemental book. And this is by John's standards, which are not low. I mean, he wants what he wants, and he wants it the way he wants it, and you're gonna do it. I mean, you're gonna do it. Yeah. But it was a 32-page book, and I had to deliver it to him in less than 3 months. And that sounds like a lot of time. It's not. I had to do 2 pages a week on top of my full-time job and still trying to manage War Party. But, you know, the deadline was there. It's John. I didn't want to let him down, so I delivered it. And he was very pleased with what I gave him, and I'll, you know, hopefully maybe get more work from him in the future. And some other creators who I'm not going to mention have reached out to me. Another high-profile creator reached out to me. So now I'm trying to figure out how do I balance that with my time devoted to this and my backers. It's the price of success is that all of a sudden everybody wants a piece of you. You know, and they all come in.
Problem to have.
It is a good problem to have, but it's still a problem, right?
And then if you don't answer them right away and do work for them because you're trying to get your project finished,
they never ask you again.
Then you're gone. They don't want. Yeah.
I had to turn down John the first time he came to me to do his Lilith supplemental for Graveyard Ship because I was in fulfillment. I said I can't do it. So then when I heard he was doing the one where you could feature your own character later on, I jumped at the chance. He gave me a double-page spread. If you've backed Godlike, you're going to get it. And it's the same image I used in my Diamond ad because my books are in comic book stores right now. Issue 1 just shipped this month. So I'm with Diamond. I got books shipping out to bookstores. But I put a full-page fold-out ad in previews. And it's the same piece of art that I did for John. And once I did that and turned it around and he was happy with it, then he came to me for Godlike. And then, of course, the other creator that I'm talking to saw Godlike. So you see, it's like a domino effect. But I still, I want to create my book. I've got my backers. And so I got to find a way to balance all these things and not blow opportunities at the same time. So it's a good problem to have.
creator woes are one thing, and yeah, we're talking about creator woes. But what your backers want is
I missed all of that. Can we? I had to go get coffee. Can we?
No.
Can you go over
No.
that again for a second?
But what your backers really want is a holidays too. Can you just draw up real quick?
Oh
another
my
book
God! Don't mock me, please.
I like the holidays book. I thought it was a funny comic.
Yeah, but you know what? Nothing has bombed harder that I've ever done. And I mean, I thank you. I appreciate it. I had fun doing it. And I was trying to do like a Peanuts Far Side thing. And I mean, I think it works for what it is. But man, I hardly sold any. Because that was shipped through Diamond. That was the lowest orders I ever got for anything.
This is your new action figure for this campaign?
Yes, that is.
Oh man,
Diana.
that is sexy as fuck. Your last one was super good as well.
Well,
I remember you debating. I remember you debating if you should put up extras last campaign. And
Do you have CG Vacation?
no, I didn't actually pick it up. Oh yeah. There she is. Yeah, no, I've seen the artwork, but
According
yeah.
to Dojo, she's one of the sexiest girls in comics. Skate. I'm quoting him.
yeah,
That's right.
no, I
Thank
would
you,
agree with
Dojo.
that
Absolutely.
100%. Yeah.
But no, it's gonna be a fun story because this one's much more horror. The one I'm doing now is war. This is horror. This is serial killer stuff in New York City. There was a blackout in the 70s. If you don't know, New York was dark for like 48 hours. Everything went black. The power grid failed, and there was rampant crime. And the son of Sam was still running around the city. They hadn't caught him yet. So this takes place in Manhattan during that time, during the 70s. So we're literally flashing forward 200 years, over 200 years. So it'll be cool.
This says that to be entered into the drawing for one of those, you have to back the Second Chance campaign.
This campaign, correct.
Dang it. The secret perk I have for a variant cover is on the other campaign.
Well, scroll down. Is there a variant cover you haven't backed? I mean, issue 1 is $5. You can't buy a $5 ticket to win a $300 figure.
I'm toast on this thing, man. I get everything but the action figure herself is in that one variant.
Well, I mean, I appreciate your support. If you can scrape up another $5, then you got you a lottery ticket. I'm telling you, there's not going to be that many backers. I'll probably maybe hit 100 if I'm lucky when this closes. Because most of the people that want this have backed it, and I don't get a lot of promotion. I have to promote myself. So it is what it is.
I have to say, from your last campaign and this one, you've always put your campaigns together really, really well. It's I think I heard something as I was walking away. The other guys might have been saying that too. But yeah, you have always put your campaigns together really well, and it really gives an experience. Just the campaign itself, I think, gives an experience for all the backers that kind of go through it, and they want something more. And there's anticipation, I think, from all of your campaigns as well. So you're definitely doing something pretty good there.
Thank you. I always tell people, listen to whatever your IP is, listen to, I know this sounds cliched, but let the story tell you where it needs to go, and listen to the characters. Because when I originally created this, Diane was a supporting character. She was in the story, but it was really more about the brothers and their struggle and the werewolves and all that stuff. And I gradually started to realize when I was writing, and I was like, yes, it's about the family and what they're trying to get their daughter back and all that. But Diane is she's like the Quantum Leap. She's like Scott Bakula's character in Quantum Leap. She comes into a situation, identifies the problem, and helps them solve it, and then she moves on to something else. So she's actually the lead character. And that's when I had that epiphany. And I mean, look what it's done.
She's your Homer Simpson.
Yeah, exactly. That's a strange comparison, but yeah, no, I know what you're getting at. But yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. Sometimes you think it's about one thing, and you realize, no, it's actually about this, and this is what the people want, and obviously they've responded to it, because there's a lot of, and we hear the jokes about how many werewolf books there are in CG and all that, and yeah, it's funny, haha, and all that stuff. But this isn't really about werewolves. I mean, yeah, there's shapeshifters, but it's really about her and her journey and her interaction with these people, and that's really what makes it, I think, stand apart, and probably part of the reason why it's been so successful. And, I like to think the art appeals to people as well. But I've heard back from readers, and for the most part, overwhelmingly, people are really excited about it and really into it. I've gotten really only one negative review, and I'm not going to say who it was, but it was one person. Other than that, everybody else has loved it. I've heard nothing but positive, so it's very motivating.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.
Dang it! I have everything on this second chance campaign already that you've either backed or shipped.
Oh, come on. There's got to be something. What do you want me to do? Throw a tchotchke in there for you?
Wait, if I can contribute
button?
$1.
You need a bookmark? Everybody needs a bookmark.
We are at 10 minutes past an hour's time. So in order to, maintain watchability and all of that, we want to, first of all, thank everyone who has been here with us for being here, for those of you who watched on the replay. But let's give Bandito his time to do his closing remarks.
All right. Now for my hour-long closing remarks.
All right. Go.
So the past is a tricky business. And it really is a business, often up for sale to whoever needs a glowing history, internet scrubbing, PR campaigns, settlements out of the sight of the public eye, all things to make mistakes disappear. And the reason behind it being fear and the need to achieve something currently unobtained. Whatever level of fame the celebrity is trying to achieve, their past hangs like a dead goose tied around their neck. Truly, specters in chains, clearly clanging so loudly, it announces their misdeeds in chorus of, the court of public opinion. And all because we know, as George Orwell said, who controls the past controls the future. This is truly what people are fearful of, others being in control of their past misdeeds and then controlling their future prospects. So is there room for redemption? Is there grace or compassion that can be called upon? The very fact that we know it is required should tell us that we need to foster it to some measure. Because as is always the case, people in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. No matter how easy it is to hit no matter how easy it is to hit the cum dumpsters around you. Because the pendulum always swings back. And it isn't actually a pendulum, it's a wrecking ball. And when you realize it's coming for your glass house, you may very well appreciate the compassion that cum dumpster can show. When it comes to how the fans should feel, it isn't their responsibility to carry anyone, to forgive, to turn a blind eye. It's only the responsibility of the fan to enjoy what they can, as they can. That is their very job. And if you're lucky enough to have fans compassionate to your mistakes, never take it for granted and understand that community is that way towards you, probably because you fostered that around you and towards others.
Wow.
Excellent.
How am I going to follow that?
Well put, Bandito. Sorry. Yeah, there's no need to follow it, Professor Murph. We want to take the time to thank you so much for being on the show. This was quite the conversation. It went very quickly, in my opinion. We had gotten to 45 minutes, and we still weren't done. So I think that we had quite a bit to say about this, and I think we handled it appropriately. We didn't go too far off the rails or anything. So,
I agree.
yes, thanks for being here. Thank you to the chat. Thank you so much to the panel. And hopefully you guys will join us again next week for another rousing Incendiary.
Thank you. Hail the chat. Hail the panel. Appreciate it.
Have a good night.
Hail and well met.